So, I know the fans are dying to know, what can you tease about Styles and Lydia in 6B?
They're both in 6B.
That's all you got? No coupley scenes?
No, there are. One of my favorite scenes is when Styles and Lydia and Jackson all meet up again. Makes for a very awkward moment. So that'll be fun.
Okay.
With bringing back Gerard and the Hunters as the main focus, it kind of feels like the show's come full circle. Can you talk about that decision and any more ways we might see Teen Wolf growing it back to the beginning for 6B?
There's a number of throwbacks, actually. I can't tease too much, but it was the idea of the rise of new hunters. And the real villain of the hunters side of the story is played by Sibangale Miambo. I hope I pronounced her last name correctly. But Sibo is phenomenal. She plays Monroe. And you really understand her motivation. And Gerard sort of takes her under his wing, sees some natural talent there. And this is a season of fear, and it's a season of being outsiders and seeing Scott and his friends become outsiders again. So that's how it developed. There's also, of course, another creature, which you see in the trailer, which will be explained along the mythology will be explained and figured out. But it's hopefully a very good scary season.
So what made you decide to do future projects after this? Like, how did that all happen?
That came out of, there's a new regime at MTV, headed up by Chris McCarthy, who's the new president, and he has a real love for the show, real love for Teen Wolf. And he and I met a couple weeks ago, and he shared his new vision for the network, for MTV, to reestablish the brand. And he's a great guy and really smart, and he said that he doesn't want to see this end with just yet. That Teen Wolf has become such a big part of MTV. The idea of the podcast just came up very recently, which I think could be really something really cool. An eventual reboot. We're not rebooting it yet because it's too hard for me to see Teen Wolf as anything other than Tyler Posey just yet. I mean, he is the Teen Wolf to me.
Maybe a girl Teen Wolf for that. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that's what they originally had been thinking for the pilot. And I think they'd even tried a pitch about a girl Teen Wolf. But it's all early stages. But for now, I'm still concentrating on War of the Worlds, which I have at MTV with another writer named Andrew Cochran working on it. So we'll see what happens.
You have like a lot of characters coming back for this season. Can you tell something about this?
Yes, it's really fun to see all the return faces, like Charlie, Hecklin. What we really wanted to do was not make them just sort of pointless cameos, to really tie them into the story. And we're almost finished editing and working on the final episode, 620, the 100th episode. And I think I'm pretty happy with all the way it came together. I think it'll be really fun for the audience to see these new faces and old faces together in scenes.
Was there ever anything that you wanted to do on the show that you just never managed to work in or never managed to get into the show?
You know, after 100 episodes, there's not much. The real worry is repeating yourself, where you're on set shooting something, you're like, didn't we do a scene like this before? So, but I always think, what if we had a bigger budget, or what if we had more time to do this? Our original cut of 312, the finale of 3A, was, I think, 12 minutes over. I'd love to go back and be able to do a full cut of that episode, because we hacked away at it to get it to time. Things like that I would redo. I would go back and remaster and do the sound over again and redo the visual effects on all of season 1 if I could. If I had millions of dollars, get it right, you know. But that's the TV. It burns fast.
How do you approach putting together a series finale that will hopefully satisfy everyone, especially when you do have, network time constraints and rules?
You approach it by thinking, oh God, how am I going to do this?
Right, and then once you get past
I've
that
got
part,
25 characters. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this in 40 minutes, which is essentially 40 minutes and 30 seconds is essentially what our episode times out at, which is less than a lot of other shows. Like
most are like 42.
42, yes, is usually the standard. Some shows, most FX shows get something like 50 minutes. Sam Esmail on Mr. Robot basically gets to do whatever he wants. So I was like, how am I going to do this? But it was challenging, and mostly what I wanted to do was try to give everybody their moment. There's a great scene with Lyndon in the final episode that we both love. It's also sort of picking who's going to get the spotlight. I look back at 6A. All right, who had the spotlight in 6A? Okay, time to shine a spotlight on this character. So it's hard too because you want to give everyone equal weight, but you can't.
And then kind of jumping off that, when you do have so many characters coming back, but you also have this core cast that's been working on this last few seasons. How do you balance kind of the time of like, okay, well we need to finish these stories, but we know fans are excited about like these characters coming back and all that? That
was partly what I learned. It's like, okay, well, if we're bringing Hecklin back, we want to make a good Derek story. But we also have these other character stories still going. And we can't suddenly forget about those other ones. It's like leaving someone on a deserted island while the rest of the show goes on. So it was a challenge. Hopefully the audience finds that we did it well. We'll see. The writers and I worked our asses off on those last few episodes in particular, like 18, 19, 20, to make sure they were satisfying.
Speaking of the ending, how long has the end game for each character, I guess, been something you've had in mind, particularly for people like Scott or others?
It's something that constantly evolves. Like I thought 520 was going to be our last episode for quite a while, and the network said, no, we want 20 more episodes. But I had sort of written the last, I sort of wrote 520 as a series finale, especially with like the one chair in that last scene being left for Allison, which was nice to see some viewers actually picked up on. It was challenging. You want to make sure that, to me, we actually started asking, the first question we asked was, how do we want Scott's story to end? And that was kind of the most important, because it was going back to, 6A was very much a story about Styles. So for 6B, we said, okay, let's bring it back to Scott McCall, the Teen Wolf. Let's end the show on Teen Wolf. And I don't want to seem weirdly like literary, but we looked at it as if Scott and Styles are sort of Prince Hal and Falstaff, what is Hal without Falstaff? He becomes King Henry. So we said Henry has to fight a war. So we decided, all right, Scott's going to have to fight a war, and that's how it sort of came about.
Any parting words for the fans?
Thank you. Thank you incredibly for loving the show as passionately as you do, as more passionately than we sometimes hoped you would love it. But thank you anyway. All right, guys.
Awesome.
Good to see you.